working royals and don't wish to be.
And Prince Andrew wants his daughters to be working royals, and that's been resisted by everybody.
By the king,
yeah.
As far as we know. I mean, I think there's now a paradox. It's quite clear what the king wants to do is to have a monarchy which is socially active.
The corridor goes quiet first. That is always the tell. At Balmoral, the staff are trained to read silence the way other people read shouting. A dropped fork means nothing. A pause in the right room means everything. And on the kind of late summer afternoon, when the Highland light slants long across 50,000 acres of private royal land, a silence settles over a hallway. And the people who work there understand instantly that something has shifted. This is the moment nobody films. No camera catches it. No press release describes it. But it is the moment that matters, because Balmoral is not Buckingham Palace. It is not crown property. It belongs to the monarch personally. King Charles III owns it the way you might own your family home, passed down since Prince Albert bought it for Queen Victoria in 1852. Here, the masks come off. Here, the family is not performing for anyone. And that is exactly why what happens inside these walls reveals more than any official engagement ever could. So picture it. The future of the monarchy moving through these rooms. Prince William, Prince of Wales, the man who will one day be king, and somewhere in the same house, the wider family Queen Camilla brought into royal life. Two worlds that the public assumes blend seamlessly. They do not always blend seamlessly. And the people who watch closely have noticed that proximity to the crown and belonging to the crown are not the same thing at all. Hi viewers, before we go deeper, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been the outsider in a family that wasn't fully yours? Drop a one-word answer in the comments right now, just yes or no, because this entire story turns on that exact feeling. And here is why your answer matters. Because the person who notices the silence first, the person who reads that shift in the corridor faster than anyone else in the building, is not the king. It is not William. It is a woman who has spent more than 50 years learning to tell the difference between people who serve the monarchy and people who simply stand near it. A woman who, year after year, quietly outworks every other member of her family. A woman who does not raise her voice because she has never needed to. Princess Anne, the Princess Royal. And when the air goes still at Balmoral, she is already moving. Stop and ask the real question. Why would any of this matter? A tense moment inside a private home. A family that doesn't fully mesh. On its own, that is the most ordinary thing in the world. It happens at kitchen tables everywhere. But this kitchen table sits at the center of a 1,000-year institution, and that changes everything. Because William is not just a man in a room, he is the heir. He is the future king of the United Kingdom and 14 other realms. Every interaction involving him is, whether anyone likes it or not, a small test of the hierarchy that holds the whole structure together. And hierarchy is the thing the monarchy cannot afford to get wrong. Here is the uncomfortable truth that observers of the royal family return to again and again. The crown survives not on affection, but on order, on the clear, unspoken understanding of who outranks whom, who defers to whom, and who carries authority that cannot be borrowed or married into. Take that away, and the magic stops working. The institution becomes just a wealthy family in big houses, and a wealthy family in big houses does not command the loyalty of a nation. Now add Balmoral itself into the equation, because the setting is not decoration. This is the monarch's private ground. There is no Lord Chamberlain managing the room, no equerry smoothing every interaction, no official protocol officer hovering. The guardrails that exist in public are gone, which means that inside Balmoral, the family polices itself. The hierarchy is protected by the people in the room, or it is not protected at all. And that is the stakes bridge nobody explains on the surface coverage. This was never really about hurt feelings. It was about whether the line that protects the future king can hold in a room where no one is watching except the one person who has appointed herself to watch.
And usually and other non-working members of the royal family will have to pay their own way. They won't enjoy these sort of privileges. And I was told that's something which Prince William believes too. So this is an arrangement which won't last in the future into his reign, certainly.
The question is what she does next, and whether even she can hold a line that nobody else seems willing to name. To understand what Anne does, you have to understand who Anne actually is. Not the caricature, the real record. She started young. Princess Anne carried out her first official royal duty in 1969, meeting Welsh soldiers when she was just 18 years old. While her older brother, now King Charles, took the traditional path to Cambridge, Anne went straight to work. And she never really stopped. For 4 straight years, from 2021 through 2024, she was named the hardest working member of the royal family by the count of official engagements, racking up well over 400 in a single year, even continuing after a concussion and a hospital stay following a riding accident on her own Gloucestershire estate. Royal commentators describe her in remarkably consistent language. The most unsentimental member of the family, the most industrious, a stickler for rules. No nonsense. The ultimate pair of safe hands, in the words of one royal magazine editor, the figure her brother the king reportedly regards as the most dependable person in the entire institution. She does not chase publicity. One royal expert noted that so little is known about her private life precisely because that is exactly how she wants it. And there is a detail that tells you everything about her values. When Anne had her 2 children, Peter Phillips and Zara Tyndall, she chose not to give them royal titles. Think about what that means. She had the standing to make her own children prince and princess. She declined. She raised them as private citizens, and they remain private citizens. No HRH, no working royal status, no automatic claim on the institution. To Anne, a title is not a gift you hand out because you love someone. A title is a job and a burden and a line. So picture the symbolic furniture of Balmoral through her eyes. The seating at dinner that signals rank. The unwritten order of who enters a room and when. The quiet choreography of a family that is also a constitution. Where others see a holiday house, Anne sees a structure. And structures she knows better than anyone alive can be damaged from the inside by people who never understood they were standing in one. That is the woman now moving through the quiet corridor. The question is what exactly she saw that made her move. Here is the first concrete thing worth understanding. Anne's power has never come from noise. It comes from refusal. She does not need to confront. She does not need to escalate. Royal experts have long noted her particular style, the cool composure, the refusal to perform emotion for cameras, the strict personal rules about how she conducts herself in public. The story goes that she will not pose for photographs with children she doesn't know, will not kiss babies for the cameras, will not soften herself into the warm, huggable royal the public sometimes wants. Not out of coldness, out of principle. She decided long ago what the role required, and she has never bent the role to flatter anyone. So when something crosses a line near the future king inside the family's most private home, Anne does not respond the way a sentimental relative might. She does not smooth it over with a joke. She does not pretend she didn't notice. Observers of her character would tell you she does something far more effective and far more chilling in its restraint. She simply registers it. She lets the silence do the work. And she adjusts the temperature of the room without saying a word that could ever be quoted back to her. This is the maneuver people miss. In a family where the cameras are usually rolling, the most powerful move is the one that leaves no evidence. A look held a beat too long. A seat reassigned without explanation. A warmth withdrawn so quietly that only the person on the receiving end understands it has been withdrawn at all. Anne has spent 5 decades mastering exactly this kind of bloodless authority, the ability to correct without ever appearing to punish. And the people who study the royal family closely understand the deeper logic. Anne is not protecting William because he is her favorite. She is protecting the position he holds. The Princess Royal has built her entire life around a single idea, that the institution outranks the individual always. That feelings are real, but the structure is sacred. So when the structure is tested, she does not ask whether she likes the people involved. She asks one question only: does this threaten the order that protects the crown? And if the answer is yes, then the warmest woman in private becomes the coldest line in the house. What she does with that line is where this turns. Now, lift up and out and see the bigger shape of it, because this is where the story stops being about a single afternoon.
Our present king. And I think it's fitting that she was selected by the Queen to accompany her on her final journey, though that may be because if she'd selected one of her sons, the other two might have got a bit jealous, whereas she's only got one daughter, so it was less controversial.
Balmoral is not just a house, it is a symbol, arguably the most emotionally loaded property the royal family owns. This is where Queen Elizabeth II was happiest, where her granddaughter Princess Eugenie once said she was most happy. This is where the late Queen chose to spend her final days and where she died in September 2022. This is where a young William and a young Harry retreated to grieve their mother. The walls hold the family's deepest private history. To be welcomed inside is to be told, without words, that you belong to the inner life of the monarchy, not the public performance of it, but the real thing. Which is exactly why a fracture inside Balmoral carries a weight that the same fracture would not carry at a garden party. This ground means belonging, and belonging in this family is never automatic. It is granted, and it can be quietly withdrawn. So consider what observers of the royal institution actually believe is at stake. The monarchy is, at its core, a machine for managing succession, for moving the crown safely from one head to the next without the whole thing collapsing into rivalry. Every signal about who stands close to William, who defers to him, who treats his future authority as real, becomes part of that machine. The family is not just having a holiday, it is rehearsing, constantly, the order that will hold when Charles is gone and William wears the crown. And here is the reframe that changes how you see the whole picture. The danger to a monarchy has rarely come from the outside. It comes from within, from people who confuse being near power with possessing it, who begin to act as though access were the same as rank. History is full of courts that rotted from the inside, undone not by enemies, but by the quiet ambitions of those allowed too close to the throne. Anne knows this history. She lives inside it. So when she moves through that silent corridor, she is not refereeing a family squabble. She is doing the one thing she has done her entire life, standing guard over the line between those who serve the crown and those who merely stand beside it. The question that now hangs over the entire house is the one nobody has dared to say aloud. If the line has already been crossed once, in the family's most sacred private space, then who is going to test it next? And will even the Princess Royal be able to hold it? There is always a second side, and the second side rarely stays quiet for long. Because here is what people forget about Queen Camilla. She did not arrive at the heart of the monarchy by accident, and she did not survive decades of public hostility by being weak. Royal biographers have long described her as one of the most resilient figures the institution has produced in modern times. A woman who endured years of being cast as the villain, who waited, who outlasted the storm, and who emerged as queen. Whatever else you say about her, you do not underestimate her. And you do not assume her family stands alone and unprotected. So consider the quiet counter-pressure. From a public relations standpoint, any signal that one branch of the family is being held at arm's length carries a cost. The wider family Camilla brought into royal life occupies a delicate position, close enough to share the holidays at Balmoral, close enough to sit at the table, yet without the titles, the rank, or the constitutional weight that William carries by birth. They live in the gap. And the gap is uncomfortable because it is the exact space where the question lives. Are we truly part of this? Or are we simply guests who never leave? That tension does not need a shouting match to become real. It lives in the small things. Who gets invited back? Who is seated where? Whose children are treated as central? And whose are treated as peripheral? According to the way royal watchers read these dynamics, nothing wounds quite like the polite version of exclusion. the smile that doesn't reach the eyes, the warmth that is offered to everyone in the room except you. And so a kind of standoff forms, invisible to outsiders. On one side, the Princess Royal, guarding the line of succession with that cool, 50-year discipline. On the other, a family that feels the chill and resents it, that believes proximity should have earned them more than this. Neither side raises a voice. Both sides understand exactly what is happening. And William sits in the middle of it. The prize, the future, the reason the whole quiet war is being fought at all. The question nobody in that house can answer yet is simple. When the silence finally breaks, which side does the king take? This is where the stakes turn from personal to permanent. Because everything we have talked about so far, the seating, the silences, the chill in a private corridor, only matters because of one thing waiting at the end of it. Succession. The cold machinery that decides who holds power and who simply watches it pass by. And succession in this family is governed not by feelings, but by law. The Succession to the Crown Act of 2013 rewrote the rules of the line itself, ending the old system that put younger sons ahead of older daughters, reshaping who stands where in the queue for the throne. The point is this: the order is real, it is legal, and it is not negotiable by anyone in a drawing room. So here is the midpoint twist that reframes the entire story. The people in Camilla's wider family are not in that line of succession at all. Not one of them. They can sit at Balmoral every summer for the rest of their lives, and they will never move a single place closer to the crown. William's children will. Anne's grandchildren, by blood, sit in the line. But the relatives who joined through marriage occupy a strange and permanent outside, present at every holiday, absent from every constitutional document that actually matters. Now you understand the real source of the tension. It was never about a moment. It was about a wall, an invisible, legal, unmovable wall that separates the people who will inherit the institution from the people who are merely allowed to stand near it. And no amount of warmth, no number of summers at Balmoral, no closeness to the Queen herself can move that wall by an inch. Anne knows this better than anyone because she built her own life around respecting it. Remember, she refused to give her own children titles. She placed her own son and daughter on the outside of the working monarchy by choice, because she believed the line should mean something. So when she senses someone else's family pressing against that wall, treating nearness as if it were rank, she does not see ambition. She sees a threat to the one principle she has defended her entire life. And that raises the open loop that should keep you watching. If even the Princess Royal's own children were kept outside the line, then what makes anyone think the rules will bend for anyone else? And what happens to a family member who refuses to accept where the wall stands? Watch the small thing now, because the small thing is where the truth always hides. The maneuver, when it comes, is almost invisible. It is not a confrontation. It is a recalibration. According to the way longtime royal observers read these moments, the most telling signals at Balmoral are never the dramatic ones. They are the adjustments. Who is included in the walk along the River Dee? Who is at the center of the photograph and who drifts to the edge? Whose presence is treated as essential and whose becomes gently optional? A position in a family is not announced. It is revealed slowly through 100 quiet decisions about proximity. And here is the insight that changes the dynamic. Once the Princess Royal sets a temperature, the rest of the household tends to follow. Not because she commands it, but because she is the most respected internal authority the family has, the figure even the king reportedly regards as his most dependable pair of hands. When Anne treats the line as real, others treat it as real too. The chill she introduces does not stay with her. It spreads quietly through the way an entire household behaves. That is influence without a single order given. So the family member who pressed against the wall discovers something cold. Nothing was said. No one accused them of anything. There was no scene to point to, no insult to file away as evidence. And yet the room is different now. The warmth has cooled by a few degrees. The center has moved, and they are no longer standing in it. This is the genius and the cruelty of how the institution corrects itself. It does not banish you. It simply stops including you, so quietly that you cannot even prove it happened. For William, the effect is the opposite. The future king feels the structure close protectively around him. His position is reaffirmed not by a speech, but by the simple, unmistakable arrangement of the room. The hierarchy holds, the line holds. And it holds because one woman decided it would, and the household followed her lead without a word. But there is a cost to winning a war this quietly, and the person on the cold side of that line is about to make a choice that no amount of Highland silence can contain. Now feel the human weight of it, because behind every power move sits a person who has to live with what it costs. Think about what this actually means for the people inside it. For William, Prince of Wales, there is a loneliness in being the prize that everyone maneuvers around. He did not choose to be the line that families test themselves against. He was simply born into it, the way his mother once described the strange weight of a destiny that arrives before you are old enough to want it. Every relationship he has is shadowed by the question of what he represents rather than who he is. That is a heavy thing to carry through a family holiday. For the relative on the cold side of the line, the pain is different, but real. Imagine spending years believing you had been welcomed, only to feel the temperature drop and realize you were always a guest. According to the way royal watchers describe these outer circle figures, the cruelest part of life near the crown is the constant reminder that closeness is conditional, that you can be at every Christmas and every summer, and still never truly belong. That is a wound that no apology fixes, because no one will ever admit it was inflicted. And then there is Anne herself, and here is the part people rarely consider. The Princess Royal does not enjoy this. The woman who guards the line is not warmed by the act of guarding it. She does what she believes duty requires, and duty is a cold companion. She has spent more than 5 decades placing the institution above her own comfort, above her own children's status, above the easy warmth that would have made her more beloved and less respected. There is a quiet loneliness in being the person who always holds the line, because the people you protect rarely thank you, and the people you correct never forgive you. That is the emotional truth at the center of this whole story. Everyone in that house is, in some way, alone, bound together by blood and history and a 1,000-year institution, and yet each of them isolated by exactly the thing that connects them. The crown does not just confer privilege, it extracts a price, and it sends the bill to everyone in the family, even the ones who think they are winning. And the heaviest question is still coming. Because what holds a family together when the thing they share is also the thing that divides them? So here is where it leaves us, and here is the lesson that outlasts any single summer at Balmoral. The story was never really about an insult, or a seating chart, or a chill in a Highland corridor. Those were just the surface. The real story is a single, unbending truth that the monarchy has lived by for 1,000 years and will live by long after everyone in that house is gone. Access is not the same as belonging. Standing near the crown does not make you part of the crown, and no amount of warmth, marriage, or proximity can move the legal bloodline wall that decides who inherits and who merely watches. Princess Anne understands this more deeply than perhaps anyone alive, because she has spent her entire life on the disciplined side of that wall, outworking everyone, claiming nothing, refusing even to hand her own children the titles she could have given them with a word. She is not the warmest royal. She was never trying to be. She is the one who holds the line so that the institution survives the people who would, knowingly or not, weaken it from the inside. And in a family where everyone performs, her refusal to perform is the most powerful thing about her. As for what comes next, the tension does not resolve cleanly, because real power dynamics never do. The wider family will return to Balmoral. The future king will keep carrying his strange and lonely weight. And somewhere in the quiet of that private estate, the Princess Royal will keep watching, keep reading the silences, keep guarding a line that no one elected her to guard. The questions remain open. Whose children rise, whose drift to the edges, and whether the next generation accepts the wall or finally tries to break it. And that is exactly why you will want to be here for what comes next. Because this family has more turns left in it than anyone outside the walls can see. If this story moved you, if it made you think about power and family and the cost of belonging, then subscribe to the channel right now and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story we tell. We are building something here. A place for stories that inspire, that make you feel something, that give you the chance to share your own thoughts and lift up someone else who needs to hear them. So tell me in the comments, do you think the Princess Royal is protecting the monarchy or protecting a wall that should finally come down? Share your honest take below. Your words might be exactly what another viewer needs to read today. And stay close, because the next chapter of this royal story is coming soon.